that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. More than I can say.
Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute, or an hour, or a day, or even a year. But eventually, it will subside, and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever.
The thing about being an entrepreneur is it's just all to you. You know, a lot of people like to make excuses. I don't have connections, I don't have money, I don't have this. But, you know, if you find something that you like to do or love to do, be great at it and see if you can turn it into a business. In worst case, you're going to have fun doing what it is you love to do. In best case, you can turn it into a business. I'm just not big on excuses. I just think if everybody has that opportunity to go for it, they just got to do it.
We have we have an Alibaba group, we have a Tmall group, we have a Taobao group, we have Alipay. And people say, how you make it? Why this make it? Why people cannot find opportunities, you can find opportunities. And I think people, same here today. Jack, where is the opportunity? I don't have a job. I don't have this, I don't have that. I remember 20 years ago, I hated Bill Gates. I say, he took all the job, you know? He's such a great. And Larry Page, Bill Gates, and every success people, they did it good. And why I didn't have this chance? The same question like you. And later I calmed down myself. And luckily, I win. I tell you, I'm lucky to know a lot of famous people. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Jack Welch, Larry Page, Mark Zuckerberg. I know all of them. I would like to share with you that those people, the difference between those people and other people, they are always optimistic for the future. They never complain. They always try to solve the problems of the others. And I think, where is the opportunity? The opportunity always lies in the place where people complain. Some people sit there complain, you think, if I can solve that complaint, that's the opportunity.
I had a horrible temper, poor self-esteem, all the things that you would think would preclude success. But I had something very important. I had a mother who believed in me. And I had a mother who would never allow herself to be a victim, no matter what happened. Never made excuses, and she never accepted an excuse from us. And if we ever came up with an excuse, she always said, do you have a brain? And if the answer was yes, then she said, then you could have thought your way out of it. It doesn't matter what John or Susan or Mary or anybody else did or said. And it was the most important thing she did for my brother and myself. Because if you don't accept excuses, pretty soon people stop giving them and they start looking for solutions. And that is a critical issue when it comes to success.
We know that too many young men in our community continue to make bad choices. And I have to say, growing up, I made quite a few myself. Sometimes I wrote off my own failings as just another example of the world trying to keep a black man down. I had a tendency sometimes to make excuses for me not doing the right thing. But one of the things that all of you have learned over the last 4 years is there's no longer any room for excuses. I understand there's a common fraternity creed here at Morehouse. Excuses are tools of the incompetent, used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness. Well, we've got no time for excuses. Not because the bitter legacy of slavery and segregation have vanished entirely, they have not. Not because racism and discrimination no longer exist. We know those are still out there. It's just that in today's hyper-connected, hyper-competitive world with millions of young people from China and India and Brazil many of whom started with a whole lot less than all of you did, all of them entering the global workforce alongside you, nobody is going to give you anything that you have not earned. Nobody cares how tough your upbringing was. Nobody cares if you suffered some discrimination. And moreover, you have to remember that whatever you've gone through, it pales in comparison to the hardships previous generations endured, and they overcame them. And if they overcame them, you can overcome them too.
My son's 14, he's fabulous, and we're having this conversation about when he plays in sports or when he does something about, do you go full out or do you not? And I see sometimes in him that when he's out on the field or doing something, he doesn't play full out and he'll have an excuse. Like my leg hurts or my arm hurts or something happened, the coach was unfair, whatever, the referee was unfair. And what happens with people is we tend to go out into the world and we look for those sort of excuses about why things aren't the way we want them. And when you do that, you lose all your power in life. When you start focusing on the external, on the excuses, you lose your power. Here's the way people really think. I will tell you, I can go out onto stage and bomb. You go out there and you just bomb, right? And people will respect you for going out there and trying your hardest. It's not how you actually perform that earns you the respect of your peers. It's the fact that you went out and actually did it. That's the difference.
I decided to go to film school because I loved the idea of making films. I love photography. Everybody said it was a crazy thing to do because in those days, nobody made it into the film business. I mean, just unless you were related to somebody, there was no way in. So everything, it's silly. You're never going to get a job. But I wasn't moved by that. I set the goal of getting through film school and just then focused on getting to that level. Because I didn't know where I was going to go after that. I wanted to make documentary films. And eventually I got into the goal of, once I got to school, of making a film. One of the most telling things about film schools, you got a lot of students in those days especially, it's not quite so much today, but wandering around saying, oh, I wish I could make a movie, I wish I could make a movie. I can't get in this class, I can't get any, first class I had was an animation class, it wasn't a production class. I had a history class and an animation class, and in the animation class, they gave us 1 minute of film to put onto the animation camera, to operate it, to see how you could move left, move right, make it go up and down. And it was a test to see, and then the teacher you had certain requirements that you had to do. You had to make it go up and make it go down. And then the teacher would look at it and say, oh yes, you maneuvered this machine to do these things. And I took that 1 minute of film and made it into a movie. And it was a movie that won 20 or 25 awards, in every film festival in the world, and kind of changed the whole animation department. And meanwhile, all the other guys were going around saying, well, I wish I could make a movie, I wish I was in a production class. And so then I got into another class, and it wasn't really a production class, but I managed to get some film, and I made a movie. And I made lots of movies while I was in school, while everybody else was running around saying, oh, I wish I could make a movie.
So speaking of excuses, one of my other favorite ones is no excuses. No victim mentality. The world owes you nothing. The world might come help you, but I wouldn't count on it. And if you start from the feeling that you need the world to participate in order for you to be successful at taking on this new thing that you're considering doing, you're right to be scared. It might. I wouldn't count on it though. But if you start from the perspective that the world owes you nothing, which it doesn't, and that it is not likely to bring you any particular help, you have nothing to lose. Because really, isn't that for every one of the people you brought onto your team, isn't that how you want them to feel when they report to you? You don't want excuses. That doesn't mean that you can't fail or that they can't ever fail. But right when you're starting, you have nothing to lose. Right? When you're a huge company You can spend 99% of your time worrying how not to mess up the billion-dollar-a-year money hose you've created. But you don't have a billion-dollar-a-year money hose right now. You have nothing. So you can't lose. Spend 99% of your time imagining what would happen if things went well and planning for that. Because there's no downside. It's like a free option on an adventure.
I realized that to have the level of success that I want to have, it's difficult to spread it out and do multiple things. You know, it's in order to be world class, and I've made a decision. I want to be world class, and it takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on the level that I want to make movies. You know, I was Star Wars when I was young. I sat in the movie theater and watched Star Wars, and I just couldn't believe that movie made me feel like that, just floored and just stunned by the creativity. And I'm realizing that in order to move people in that way, in order to touch people in that way, you really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity.
Making the right decisions is a one-on-one battle. Whatever majority of the crowd's doing, find your way doing the opposite. And see 9 times out of 10 how right you turn out to be. How many of you, a show of hands, how many of you have found out a way to not waste time? Show of hands. So it's simple. See, God gives us a lot of things in life, but it's a couple things He don't give us. And time is something He gives no man. That's the one thing, no matter if you look at your watch, I look at my watch, you look at your clock, I look at my clock, you look at your phone, I look at my phone. Time slows down for no man. So the question is, how much time you gonna waste? I gave up on trying to make money years ago. I gave up on entertaining clubs years ago, 14 years, since I even thought about taking a step in anything that doesn't reflect where I'm trying to go. That's what you got to put in your head. Every decision you make, does this decision influence where I'm ultimately trying to go? Because if it does, you got to get rid of it. So these conversations that I came in to have today, I can go all day, because I love sharing the reason why people don't realize what you got to give up to become great. What sacrifices you got to make to become great. What promises you got to make to yourself to become great. Greatness ain't a thought process. Greatness is a lifestyle. It's what you live like. It's what you get every day and breathe.
You know, hard work pays. I put in a hell of a lot of work all throughout this build-up in the fight. I pumped out more content than anybody, more content than Fox, more content than ESPN, more content than BT Sport, more content than everybody on the Mag Live on my own channels. You know what I mean? I'm a workhorse from all angles, not just in the gym. But I'm building this media empire now myself, and we pumped out the content. I'm very proud of how it went. We consistently, daily movies I was releasing, you know, from like a month ago, every single day. You know what I mean? Nobody's doing that. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm very, like, the work pays, hard work pays, and I put in the work, and that's why I'm sitting at the top. I put it all on the line. I show up, I perform, and I get the results from that.
You know, Shark Tank, I do the show not because they're great investments, but I do the show because it sends the message to kids 8 to 80 that the American dream is alive and well. You know, you can watch the show and come to realize that somebody out of Iowa or, you know, the middle of nowhere in Texas can start a company and, you know, turn it into something special. And I think, you know, so many families watch the show together that it's just, you know, particularly in this day and age when so many people are saying what's wrong with this and what's wrong with that and what's wrong with America, it just really reinforces that, you know, somebody with an idea who's willing go beyond just an idea to a company phase and really work, something special can happen. And just reinforcing that is really important to me.
And like I've said before, we each have a gift. But too many people miss out because they refuse to sign the lease on their gift. You keep looking for it outside of you. Stop. Sit with yourself. What is it that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort? That's your gift. But if you are constantly looking outside of yourself and you don't latch on to your gift, you will never find your purpose. If you want to succeed, you must commit to your own gift and embrace it.
A good fighter is not necessarily the greatest fighter ever lived. It's where you want to go. You know what I mean? A good fighter just to be diligent and committed and disciplined, doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. Always testing yourself and forcing yourself to the limits. If you know you if you love women, then deny yourself that. That's what success in general is all about, sacrifice. From my experience, of any little success I may have had, just be willing to sacrifice, Unfortunately, sometimes you can't have fun accomplishing your goals. And when sometimes people don't have the determination, the will, and the steadfastness, the tenacity, they give in under the slightest struggle.
Greatness is a different definition to different people. Greatness to me is when I land that fakey half cap hill on my skateboard or some shit. Greatness is the song I recorded last week. Somebody might not find that great, but it's great to me. And that's all that matters. What the I think in my head. As long as I like it, that's all that matters. Greatness to me is finally getting my video on MTV. It's on there now, and I'm happy. I finally got my shit on MTV. Some people might think that's selling out or whatever, but I don't really give a f. That's great to me. I'm proud of myself. I've been wanting that since I was 7 years old, and I finally got that shit. And hard work pays the f off.
Martin Luther King tried to commit suicide twice. You guys see what I'm saying here? JFK went through periods of deep illness, deeply, deeply ill, where people thought he would die. These types of things, right? Winston Churchill went through deep, deep depressions. So you can become one of those people. It doesn't mean you're gonna become one of them, because those guys are in their own universe, but you can become somebody of great power if you've gone through that, because you've been hardened. Do you guys see what I mean here? If you've been through that kind of bullshit, then if you've conditioned yourself to pull yourself out of something like that, if the world gets all f***ed up, all the other people, they're used to happiness. They're like, whoa, happy. And they're like, my happy world's falling apart. My happy world is falling apart. It gets all f***ed up. You're just like, it's all good, baby. Yeah, you don't care because you're adjusted to it. So you've taken conscious control. Do you guys see what I mean? Okay. So there's benefits. Being a hard case newbie means that you can be better than any of the guys that had it easily. It'll be harder to get, but you can excel to a higher level than all the people that were naturally good, if you choose to. But for you, it will be a life of commitment. In the same way that a guy that wants to get kind of big in the gym, if he's gonna be big in the gym and he's a hard gainer, little skinny dude, he's gonna have a higher commitment level. To get to that level, you're gonna have a higher commitment level. You're not gonna get to averages easily. And sometimes even striving to stay at average won't work for you because you slip back. So you have to really commit. You have to take your foot off the parking brake, man. You have to burn the boats, as they say, and just go for it. As a hard case newbie, if you do that, you can slowly build those willpower muscles, slowly reacclimate your body to positivity, build up friends, build up abundance, build an amazing situation for yourself. You do amazing, amazing things.
I think it was just a moment of like, enough is enough. Like I was sleeping on my sister's couch for a couple years originally, and she had told me, are you going to start paying rent at about a 1.5 year mark? Like, when are you going to start paying rent? Because I was just eating her food for free. I was like a slob. I didn't like clean up. I was just taking advantage of the situation. And I was 24 years old or something. And I remember just being like it's time for me to grow up and do something with my life. Like I've sat here for 1.5 years, almost 2 years now, like depressed, miserable, whatever I was doing, making excuses. Like, this isn't who I want to be. I aspire to be something greater. You know, my parents didn't raise me to be this way. I wanted to make myself proud. I wanted to make my last name proud. I wanted to make, you know, my family proud. And I wanted to be a symbol. I think, you know, I've always wanted to be a symbol of inspiration, of possibilities. From my sports days, like, I remember the feeling after the games when parents or fans or parents of other players from other teams would come up to me and say, thank you for showing me what's possible. Like, I had no, you know, there was no way you were able to catch that ball, but somehow you did that. It was like, it blew my mind. There was no way you guys should have come back after how much you were down. And what you did, like, blew me away. Like, I loved hearing that. And seeing in other people, like, this spark of passion, excitement, possibility for what they could create in their life. And I wanted to be that symbol of passion and vision and focus and commitment towards my dream to show others what's possible. And I've never been the best at anything I've done. You know, in sports, I was like always the underdog. I was never the biggest, fastest, or strongest dog. And I think it's just wanting to show people what's possible. So that's what I'm still doing. It's like I'm just a kid from a small town in Delaware, Ohio, who had a lot of emotional turmoil inside growing up, and I'm trying to show people what's possible, no matter where you come from.
Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute or an hour or a day or even a year, but eventually it will subside and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever. Listen to me, I'm telling you as I leave. I was homeless for 2.5 years. And the problem with most of you never felt no pain before. Y'all spoiled. Some of y'all spoiled, just bottom line. Your parents have done everything for you. You never had to do nothing for yourself. You're spoiled. We're gonna keep it real tonight. Some of you are spoiled brats. Every time you ever got in trouble, somebody in your house got you out of it. Every time you've done something you're not supposed to do, people say, Eric, your mother's a tyrant. You're right. She kicked me out. You're right. She's mean, but she developed a man because she put me out there and said, you're going to have to grow up. And some of you have never learned to grow up. And so every time something get hard, you quit, you call mama. I dare you to take a little pain. I dare you. I dare you not to go home. Somebody said, I gotta go home, I feel bad. Go through it. You ain't gonna die. At the end of pain is success. You're not gonna die because you're feeling a little pain. I'm not eating like I eat at home. That's why you're about to go to the next level, because if you keep eating like you ate at home, you will keep being a boy or a girl. It's time to become man, woman. So don't worry about a little pain.
There's a bunch of people that will say, yeah, well, I have a family, so, you know, it's a great idea for you to just go out there and go crazy. I have people to support. You need to listen. Stop saying that. Stop saying any of those things. Every single person who has ever done anything worthwhile or exceptional or difficult or extraordinary, anyone, whether it's great artists or authors or mathematicians or whatever it is, everyone encounters difficulties. There is no easy road. It does not exist. It is impossible. Everyone has issues. If you have time to pursue a hobby, if you have time to do anything in your life, you can better yourself. And here's one way you never better yourself. When you come up with excuses for why other people are successful and you're not. That is dangerous. When you give yourself an escape, yeah, well, that's easy for you to say, you know, you do this, you do, and trust me, everybody has a hard road. I wanted to jump out a window several times during my young life. I wanted to jump in front of a train and just end it because it's too much pressure. Not really, but you know what I'm saying, theoretically. We all go through hard times. We all go through depression. We all go through doubt and moments in your life where it's really difficult and you're trying to figure out what your path is going to be. It's hard as shit. But Stefan and I were talking about this before the podcast starts, that is what makes you a person. And those difficult moments are what build your character. Show me a great man who's the son of a great man. You know, that's what we're saying. These kids that are born billionaires, you're never going to be a self-made person. You have a backup trust for your backup trust for your trust, and you're man.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and aching, and just then go on and go on and then go on, and this last 2 or 3 or 4 repetitions, that's what makes actually the muscle then grow, and that divides then one from a champion and one from not being a champion. If you can go through this pain barrier, you make it to be a champion. If you can't go through, forget it. And that's where most people lack, is on this having the guts to go in and just say, I go through and I don't care what happens. You know, it aches, and if I fall down, I have no fear of fainting in a gym, because I know it could happen. I threw up many times while I was working out, but it doesn't matter, because it's all worth it.
And one does have to be focused on the short term and money coming in when creating a company, because otherwise the company will die. So that I think that a lot of times people think like creating a company is going to be fun. I would say it's not. It's really not that fun. I mean, there are periods of fun, and there are periods of where it's just awful. And particularly if you're the CEO of the company, you actually have a distillation of all the worst problems in the company. There's no point in spending your time on things that are going right. So you only spend your time on things that are going wrong. And there are things that are going wrong that other people can't take care of. So you have like the worst. You have a filter for the crappiest problem in the company, the most pernicious and painful problem. So I wouldn't say I think you have to feel quite compelled to do it, and have a fairly high pain threshold. And there's a friend of mine who says like starting a company is like staring into the abyss and eating glass. And there's some truth to that. The staring into the abyss part is that you're going to be constantly facing the extermination of the company. Because most startups fail. It's like 90%, arguably 99% of startups fail. So that's the staring into the abyss part. You're constantly saying, okay, if I don't get this right, the company will die. It should be quite stressful. And then the eating glass part is you've got to do the problems. You got to work on the problems that the company needs you to work on, not the problems you want to work on. And so that's you end up working on problems that you'd really wish you weren't working on. And so that's the eating glass part. And that goes on for a long time.
So how do you keep your focus on the big picture when you're constantly faced with, we could be out of business in a month?
Well, it's just a very small percentage of mental energy is on the big picture. Like you know where you're generally heading for, and the actual path is going to be some sort of zigzaggy thing in that direction. And try not to deviate too far from the path that you want to be on, but you're going to have to do that to some degree. But I don't want to diminish the. I mean, I think the profit motive is a good one if the rules of an industry are properly set up. So there's nothing fundamentally wrong with profit. In fact, profit just means that people are paying you more for whatever you're doing than you're spending to create it. That's a good thing. and if that's not the case, then you'll be out of business, and rightfully so. You're not adding enough value.
The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. Heartache, loss, disappointments, they don't leave us the same. When I lost my father, I didn't come out like I was before. I was changed. If you go through a divorce, a legal battle, a friend betrays you, eventually that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different. Now, how the pain changes you is up to you. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out with a chip on your shoulder blaming God, or you can come out stronger, with a greater confidence in God. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, a new fire, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. All of us experience pain. My challenge, don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to develop character, to gain new confidence. Anybody can give up. Anybody can let it overwhelm you. But you know what that's doing? Wasting your pain. That pain is not there to stop you. It's there to prepare you, to increase you, to develop you.
People used to take my raps and crunch them up and throw them on the ground. I used to get made fun of all the time, because who believes that the guy sitting next to the math class is going to blow up and become a superstar? You don't believe that, right? But like, you should have. And it's a bummer, you know what I mean? Because I don't know, man. I mean, take it and make, pain is the best inspiration. So if you're a creative out there and you're getting bullied, take it and make something great out of it.
Now, I know that I personally have experienced quite a bit of disappointment in my life, and I'm assuming that you have as well. And guess what? We're going to continue to be disappointed throughout our lives. At least we should be, because if you're not, that means that you're really not trying. Now, how you handle yourself post-disappointment, this is critical to your emotional and mental well-being. Pain, hurting, right? It's part of the growing process. But I'll tell you something, life has a funny way of closing doors in order to keep you moving in the right direction, all right? So often in our society and as people, we run from pain. We do everything we can to protect ourselves and to shield ourselves from feeling uncomfortable with that feeling of pain. And this is the reason why so many people abuse drugs, alcohol, casual sex. We do this to not feel the pain, but I'm saying stop running. Stop trying to mask it, all right? When you feel pain, disappointment, it's okay. Don't try and cover it up. What you should do is actually embrace it. I know it's easy for me sitting here saying, oh, embrace the pain. You're feeling like crap. Don't worry about it. Feel it. Feel it. I get it, right? That's kind of a long shot. But what I'm saying is that the pain is normal, it's natural, it's a part of the growth process. Learn from it. Once you do, you accept it, you embrace it, learn from it, put it in its place, you're gonna be able to move forward stronger, faster, smarter. If you're not struggling and getting disappointed from time to time, this probably means that you're not really pushing your limits too far, all right? It's okay. Embrace it, don't get discouraged, and stay focused.
Pain is a beautiful thing. Challenge is what life is about. A life without challenge, a life without pain, is a life without growth. And where there is no growth, there is stale, stagnant energy. And that's where most people live. Because most people's lives are designed around treading a path that is void of challenge. The minute they recognize challenge or pain, they move the other way. This is a primal instinct and normal and natural, but a weak perspective. Most people are bored if you ask them, what do you think about your life? Same old, every single day. What's the thing? Same day, same shit, different day, things of this nature. That's because they're living their lives in a lie that is shrouded in comfort. It doesn't exist. They're not challenged, they're not growing, they're bored, and they're better off dead. Your aliveness is found in your pain. Embrace it, love it, and grow from it.
As soon as I finished school, I was always getting pestered. What are you doing with your life? Are you doing this, doing that? They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what MMA was. They didn't know what none of this. They didn't know I could make a career out of it. As far as they were concerned, my mum and dad I'm talking about, as far as they were concerned, I was just getting into a cage and fighting with some other guy. They didn't know nothing about it. No one did, really. But I knew, you know what I mean? I knew. But, and then I ended up getting a trade, just to keep them quiet. Because I used to have a lot of fights with my dad.
What trade did you get?
I ended up getting a trade as a plumber. Literally up in the back arse of nowhere, up in the Wicklow Mountains. And funny enough, that site was one of the biggest sites in Europe. Kiltiernan. It was right at that skiing place. Huge. And now it's just abandoned. Now it's just deserted. So I used to go up there 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was on that M50. I used to have to walk to the N4, about half an hour from my house, wait for some Limerick guy that I didn't even know. He'd drive on the M4 and I'd have to flag him down. Nightmare, yeah. 2 hours down on the M50, 2 hours back, literally 14-hour days, and I was the first year, so I had to go and do everything. I had to go to the shop, I had to go and get this and get that. So I always had trouble with that, and I was like, this isn't for me. This is not for me.
How long did you last?
I lasted 18 months doing it. But it was tough, you know what I mean? It wasn't the life for me, you know what I mean? And then John said, because I was training with John as well at the time, and then John got in touch and says, I have a show, I'm running a show, I'd like to fight on it. And then that was it. I just packed it in, didn't show up. My dad used to come in and punch the head on me and like try and drag me out of bed. And I just wouldn't go, you know what I mean? I had an uproar for a good few years with him over it. And that was it. I just packed it in, quit, and then focused on training. And I knew what was going to happen. I knew I was going to get here. They didn't. There's a lot of stressful years, you know what I mean? A lot of tough times. But I proved them wrong. I proved myself right.
I'm not.
What do you mean?
I'm not against like bullying, because I feel like the world is bullies. Like there's so many people who are going to tell you that what your idea is stupid, or like you don't belong here, or you don't deserve certain things. And
But
like,
wouldn't it be a better
it'd be a better place if people didn't do that?
But you're saying you're not against it because it's unrealistic to be against it?
I'm saying like we probably wouldn't have Kanye West, Bill Gates, or anyone without someone being like, you're not worth it. Like we wouldn't have them. And like we wouldn't have people who were like, no, this is worth it. Because if everybody's ideas was worth it, and if they felt that way, everybody felt like their idea, it'd be just like nothing. Everything would be the same. You need somebody to keep being like, no, I'm right. You need a Joan of Arc who's like, no, I'm right. Even if it's crazy. But like, and then eventually people are like, maybe they're not
Are
crazy.
you that way?
I mean, yeah. I like to believe that. I mean, people tell me
Because you seem like such a little modest guy, and when you're on the show.
I'm a salty dude, though.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. I remember everybody who says that. Like, I mean, like, I got beefs with people. Like, I remember stuff. I remember totally. Like, and I'm like, most of the things I do is just like, no, I'm right. And I believe in myself.
You're
more
vengeful?
Not vengeful. I'm salty.
What's the difference?
The difference would be like, vengeful is like, I'm gonna come and destroy you. I think like it's like I'm gonna wait.
I'm gonna take. I'm taking your number down, and
I'm coming for you.
Coming for you.
I'm salty, which means I think salty is a different thing, because I'm like, I'm just gonna prove you wrong. I'd much rather you sit there and be like, huh, I was wrong, because then I think that's growing. Like, there's lots of times where I've done stuff and I'm like, I was wrong about that, and I didn't even know. And then it makes you like look at things differently on experiences in your life. Like, I want to make people think like you were wrong.
Ignore people telling you your idea is bad. They may be right, but the only way to know is to actually build it out. And I think the thing that works about Silicon Valley that's different than Mexico City or almost anywhere else in the world is the default response. If someone says, hey, I'm gonna start a startup, here's my idea, the default response is to be excited and think like, oh, why might that work? And in most of the rest of the world, the default response when you tell someone your idea is to say, oh, that's not going to work. And this is really toxic for startups, because you have to believe in yourself. And the good ideas, because they sound like bad ideas, are so fragile and so killable that you have to be really careful to insulate yourself against this.
When I found some place in my country, and a lady answered the telephone, I then asked, to whom am I speaking? She said, you're speaking to me. I said, well, lady, I know I'm speaking to you, but what's your name? She said, who are you to ask for my name? What's your name? I say, well, lady, as soon as you tell me your name, I'll tell you mine. But as we argued as to who should tell his or her name, she became very cross. And she said, you seem to be a backward person. Have you passed your matric? Now, matric in our country is a university entry examination. And I said, well, lady, you must be very careful. Because if the qualification to speak to you is the possession of a matric certificate, I might work hard and pass my matric and be in the same class as you are. That was treason. She said, you will never be in my class and bang the telephone. How I wish she were here today. She would now discover that I have achieved more than pass my matric.
And you know, when they say, oh, I would like you to do this for me, and I produce a lot of first-time filmmakers, but I don't produce all first-time filmmakers that approach me, and I say, look, if I say no and you give up, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's the wrong job for you. Because you live with rejection for decades, sometimes as a director, and you end up making the movie you want to make. So if I say no, that doesn't mean I'm right or I'm wrong. You just say, F him, I'll show him later. You know, I'm gonna make it, and that fat bastard is gonna have to say, I was so wrong, and hit himself in the head because he didn't do it. And I think that's the thing to do, is like, show us. Don't tell us, you know, do the things. And if you do them wrong, but you do them in your own terms, that's how I define success. Failing in your own terms.
Really something that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
When someone underestimates me, I love to get to know them and have them have one conversation with me to just understand that it's, I mean, I think the easiest question to ask is, what does she do? What is your talent, you know? And I jokingly said, actually to my husband the other day, I said, you know what, my next answer should be, like, sarcastically, how lucky am I? If I don't sing and I don't dance, but I'm still doing what I'm doing, how easy is my job? I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to be on stage like you working, you know, so hard, but we're still driving the same car, we're still living the same life, you know, so lucky me, you know, if it was that easy. But, you know, I think it's just like the easiest thing to ask. For anyone to really assume that it's not a full-time job to have to sit and create things and come up with every single blog post, and I do, you know, 3 a day, and having to, you know, working on apps, it's to me it would be the same thing as people saying, like, anything blogging, like, what do? You're sitting at home in your apartment and you're just on the computer. Like, that is
I think people
such
do
hard work.
say that
you
about
know,
us.
and I respect it so much, you know, and they say that, you know, about the modeling world. Well, they just sit there looking pretty. It is a full-time job for, you know, models like, you know, my sister even, you know, Kendall. It's, I don't mind getting underestimated, but I feel for people that I understand how it could bother them if they were put in the same situation.
Mhm.
Even filming a reality show, it's a full-time job. I mean, I think that, I know, you know, reality shows don't get the respect that I believe they deserve, and that's why I love being on one for so long, and I will, you know, always fight to, you know, be on as long as possible, because I love to show and prove. But my personality is just, if you underestimate me, I would love to have a conversation with you. I would love to, I just like to prove people wrong.
But I was dumping the pasta one night into the sink, and all of a sudden, Simone walks in, and he says, you know, Barbara, we have something serious to discuss. I'm going to marry your secretary. I'm like, Tina? She went from Tina, the wonderful secretary, I won't even put a label on her, okay? I just couldn't believe my ears or my eyes. I'm like, what? How's that possible? He said, take your time moving out. I took about a minute, grabbed a toothbrush, and walked out the door and moved in with my girlfriend, Kathy, who was living on East 79th Street in the studio, and she let me stay there till I got my feet back under me. I should say that for the first time in my life, I don't know what hit me. I guess that hit me. But I can't believe I managed it so badly. I felt like I was a nobody. I went from a somebody with a successful business to a nobody because I was turned out for a younger woman. Tina was 5 years younger than me. I had to admit she was prettier. She had real blonde hair. I was already highlighting. I hated her for that. She was calm and pretty. I hated her. But I went to work every day. I wanted to fire Tina, but Ray reminded me he was the controlling partner. I couldn't do that. Tina moved into my desk in Ray's office where I used to sit, and I sat out with the salespeople. And every day I went in smiling like a puppet, but in my heart I was running around a broken heart and loss of confidence. I just thought to myself, my God, I was nothing before Ray found me. He picked me up, found me. He was my mentor. He gave me confidence. He gave me the money to start the business. Everything good that had changed my life all led to one place, which was Ramon Simone. And I thought, he's right, I'll never succeed without him. But I can't even remember what clicked in my head, maybe desperation, but one day I just decided I'm not gonna do this anymore. And I walked in and I said to Ramon Simone, you know what, I'm ending this business and here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna chop up the 14 salespeople like a football draw. You can pick the first person, I'll pick the second. We'll do it fair. If you wanna move out, you can move out. If you want me to move out, no problem. You wanna keep the phone number, no problem. Or I'll get a new phone number, whatever. You go first. He picked Norma Hirsch, our star salesperson. I picked Esther Kaplan, a not so star salesperson, but I had a plan for her. And we went right down the line, and I would say within maybe 6 minutes, we ended a partnership, boom, like that. We had $37,000 in cash. He wrote me a check for half the $37,000, and as luck would have it, it was a real estate recession we were just about to dive into. And why was it great? Because commercial space wasn't leasing well. He was on the 8th floor where my old office was. I rented the identical space on the 11th floor above him. There's a little ego in that, I'm sorry to say. How needy was I? Right? And by Monday, this was on a Thursday, by Monday, I moved my salespeople in, because in those times you could rent black desks, rent phones, bang, we were in operation, and my 7 salespeople moved in, and that was the birth of the corporate group. Right before I left Ramon Simone's office that day, or I should say Ray and Tina's office that day. And by the way, you know what his real name was? It wasn't even Ramon Simone. I found out from his mother, Vicky. His real name was Ray Simon, and he wasn't from the Basque Country like he always told me. He was from 145th Street in Harlem. Go figure. Alrighty. Well, anyway, so right before I left the office, that's when Ray gave me the gift of a lifetime, when he said to me those words that reflected in my head for the rest of my life. It still gets me going. You'll never succeed without me. I'm telling you, I don't believe in negative motivation. I'm a positive person like my mother. But he really knew my number. If he had said, I know you're going to be amazing, I'm sure I wouldn't have stayed in business in the tough times. But it was that scolding tattoo in my heart, you'll never succeed without me, that every time I was near death, growing my business through the ups and downs of the real estate recession, being overextended, being over leveraged, owing money, blah, 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 that same phrase got me going again. He gave me an insurance policy for success by insulting me. Thank God he did. I have thanked him a million times. What happened to Ramon Simone? He married Tina. They have 3 kids together. They are so much more happily married than myself and my husband, Bill. They were meant to be together. Right? They were destined, okay? But still, thank God, he gave me that insult to assure my success for the rest of my life.
Do not listen to the naysayers. If you are going to have a breakthrough, you've got to be able to silence the negative voices. That's the next step, and that's the next secret. Many of us have too many people speaking into our ears. I just call these people abortionists. So you've got to be careful. Your dreams, your visions, your desires, especially those that have been God-given, I want you to pursue them. I want you to believe that all things are possible. It is possible for you to go back to school. It is possible for you to heal your relationship. It is possible for you to go at life alone. It is possible.
They told me it's so hard, so tough, and all the people say Pep is not going to adapt in that cute in that way. So that's why I'm here, to try to do it. So the people have, some of them confident it's going well, but some of them or in Germany as well. The people say the way you play is not be possible here in the Premier League. So, and I said myself, why not? Why we don't travel there to try it? And that's why. So it's a big challenge, not just for me, but I am always in my teams. I was able to involve the players, and it's going to happen here as well. When that's happened, everything will be easy.